Hello, and welcome to Dagnabbit. We're going to be talking about EPiC in 3 hours or less. No matter how far I get, I'm going to be finishing this at midnight, and that's why I started exactly at 9. But anywho, let's get started. Essentially it all started... I have to close my eyes. I'm going to take you on a journey. It all started with a podcast called Drunks and Dragons that I started watching around early 2016. And I had found this finding an interest in Dungeons and Dragons and wanting to learn more about it. And it truly fascinated me, and I really wanted to try to become a dungeon master myself. So I started working on a game of my own with very similar aspects of Dungeons and Dragons, but basically started from scratch. And I had contacted some of my friends about all of the different things, and I actually have this. If you look up my name on Google, this will pop up, and it is a Blogspot account with some of the things about... This is the very first thing about EPiC. And so I started this game, and I started working on all of these different things, and I had about 6 players that were interested, I believe, and I wrote this one chunk of story about 2 of the characters that I had. And I believe some of them made their own characters, and some of them I made characters for them. But that wasn't something that we got super into detail with. I believe it was... We don't need to get into who was involved. But anywho, come to the summer of 2016. This is just a bit of side stuff, but my family and some family friends of ours named the Meadows went to a beach house vacation thing where I bought my signature sunglasses. And I'm sure all of you are familiar with the sunglasses, but I got these glasses on the trip, and I started wearing them quite often, and so that's something that's going to come up later. But anywho, cut to around early November. I actually believe it was November 10th that I decided that I really wanted to make a trailer for this little D&D game that I was starting. And the result of that was, well, this video. And it was just something that we made, and I decided that I would want to play the antagonist of this because my cousin Christopher here made me a really cool mask that I really enjoyed. So I created this little tiny narrative that wasn't even really involved with the story itself. It was just something that I really enjoyed. But real quick, we're going to go over... I'm sure I could make this slightly better in the future, but real quick, this is meant to be a fallen legend, which is the credit that I give him. Here, the fallen legend, and he's meant to be Mr. Lobob, being my YouTube character, because at this time, I had not revealed myself to be Mr. Lobob. This person here in the mask, that is me, is credited as LP in a lot of things past EPiC itself. Like, I'm still credited as the LP in a lot of the EPiC stuff up until, I want to say, around 2018. But anywho, this is meant to be a form of Mr. Lobob here. And Christopher is actually one of the few people who actually made his own character for this game, so I let him bring his own armor and sword and everything to play this pirate character. And then these are a couple of my other friends, which him and the guy in the creeper jacket will show up later. But anywho, we made this nice little thing, and it was quite fun. And plays through. There's me with the double lightsaber. And that was the whole thing. And we made it, and it was great. And this was the trailer for the thing. And before I get too caught up in all of the other stuff, I had a friend. This was shot at my birthday party. And I had a bunch of other people there, but these were some of the people who were interested in helping me with making this little trailer thing. And I had another friend there that I really wanted to have a third party member that was a female wizard. But the person who ended up being the female wizard had not showed up yet, and the only other female there was not interested in the slightest. So we didn't have that. But anywho, I believe that's everything for this. And at some point after we made this, my brother, who was working for a wedding videographer at the time, apparently showed some interest in this little project of mine, and I believe asked if I was interested in making something more out of this. And this was in November 10th, 2016, and so I started working on reverse engineering this trailer to create a prequel out of it. And so I started writing for the EPiC that most people see when they go onto my channel. This is the main thing that pops up. And this is meant to be a prequel to this trailer right here. And I'll go over what that means in just a second. But anywho, so I started working on this prequel to the little teaser trailer that I had made. And so I went over some of the things that I wanted to establish, like the fact that these two were a part of a group of 5, and they were looking to avenge this character, which would be recast in the second one as my friend Tristan here. And he also played Mr. Lobob. And so I actually somewhat recreated this shot in EPiC, except for it was just serving the same purpose and not that itself. Another thing I wanted to establish is that at the end here, these two know this person, and this person is cursed by a mask. Brilliant, great, everything. Oh jeez, we're only 8 minutes in. Okay, it's gonna be great. Let me gather my thoughts. So essentially, I had reversed this trailer, and I wanted to show all of the things. I wanted to show where the lightsaber came from. I wanted to explain why he had lost the eye, because I found that an interesting part of his character design. And yeah, I wanted to explain the lightsaber and the mask, and why he was wearing the mask, and come to January approximately 5th or 6th, where we had planned to start shooting on January 8th, and I barely had any of the script ready by 3 days prior. So I basically stayed up many long nights listening to the same song over and over again as I wrote the EPiC script for this video. And essentially, so here's what was going on. I had 5 heroes. I had these 2 characters, which were the survivors. I had the antagonist, who was possessed by the mask. I had this character, which was the fallen leader, essentially. And then I had the female wizard, who has not shown up in any of this, but I still wanted to have that character. So, anywho, I started writing for this, and so reverse engineering it like I did. I also added an element where it was actually showing them playing the D&D game. And so a lot of this is them in the real world, and then this bit, which I'm really sad didn't really transfer, is when I sit down here, my character appears in the EPiC world. And I'm really sad that didn't make sense. But anywho, let's go over a bit of this. So this is the character who is, the pirate in the previous one. We have our female wizard. And we have our leader, which is Mr. Lobob. This dude. And then we have my character, which is the antagonist, or soon to become the antagonist. And then we have our dungeon master here. This is a reference to the Pokemon battle. Oh my gosh. The Pokemon battle. So this shot that we were looking at is a reference to this, which is from what used to be one of my very popular videos from a month before we made the EPiC trailer, or the old video. And it didn't really go quite as well as I wanted it to, because I wanted to match what this looked like, where he comes up to him like this, but he just nonchalantly went past him, because this is the same person here. Also, there's a nice little detail where I'm the cameo of this quote-unquote beloved character from Mr. Lobob, and also myself here, which is a nice little thing that I personally enjoyed. Also, before we get into that, I believe this is something that is older. It is EPiC the prequel, the beta test, which is the same as what we were working on, where we have two very old versions of the characters. My character and the leader character. And I believe we have a bit of dialogue. But I just love this. I don't know if anyone has seen this, but it's just beautiful. And this is initially something that I kind of wanted to start EPiC with, but it had gotten changed around a lot. But I still think it's absolutely hilarious. I'll just let it play. Just the look to the camera is beautiful. Also, a little detail that he got off a stump.
If you hadn't spent all the money on the stupid coat, we'd be done by now.
It's good acting.
As long as we land all our combos, we'll be fine.
But anywho, that was an early version of dialogue that we also have in a different piece of test footage. This is also pre-EPiC, where we have the characters a little bit more lined out. I believe this is re-edited by me last year. And this is kind of going through what we wanted, which is traveling to the mask, talking about the coat and the kind of metagaming of talking about landing the combos and whatnot. Which I'm really sad that we didn't get more
Charm, right?
kind of character-based dialogue, but I don't think we could have pulled it off.
Well, as long as we land all our combos, we'll be fine.
And we have a little bit of all this. And we used to have somewhere this actually edited where he teleports behind us. Another thing about fighting this mask character is that it was heavily inspired by, I don't think I actually have it here, but it's heavily inspired by the Undertale fight with Sans, rather a lot of fan animations of the fight with Sans, where it has him teleporting around and the protagonist fighting him. But that was a very stylistic choice that I really wanted to capture, but I don't think we ever really did super well. Oh, jeez. But anyhow, moving back to this, I believe we've moved up to this. Oh, another thing. Coming to January 8th, which is the day that we shot all of these things, firstly, it was intentionally meant to have 5 heroes, including the one that was in this one, being my friend Noah. And I believe he didn't show up on the day of filming, which meant we had to write him out of the script and still have it make sense. It probably didn't make sense before that, but it was still quite a bit of a pain to write him out of it, and, you know. But anywho, we worked around it. Joseph's boss, who was lending us really nice 4K cameras, was also supposed to show up and oversee this entire process. But I believe his kid was sick that day, and so we did it without him. And yeah, that was a great time. Also, it was very cold outside. I believe it was around, I want to say 10 degrees at the time of filming, and we were outside filming all day. And considering that nobody had read the script prior to us filming this, also, by the way, there's this mask, which is his future mask, because he, spoiler warning, gets the mask later on. But that's just a little cameo. And then also, my painted Golden Freddy mask is in the background for... I know it's here. It has a zoom out shot here, and then my Golden Freddy mask, which I still have right next to my bedside to this day. There's a lot of little details, like the cards on the table right there. I am currently are right next to my bedside, and these player sheets actually have a lot of writing on them, including our real names and whatnot. This is also a game called Star Wars Miniatures that I own a lot of the collectibles for, and we used them for our board. The look into the camera is uncanny. Anywho, another thing, I mentioned the glasses before, and this was a point in my life where I insisted on wearing my red sunglasses for everything, which was... it hurts my soul, but I still love those glasses. They're cracked now, and they show up in the future stuff, but we'll talk about that later. Anywho, I had this thing. By the way, there's actually quite a bit of detail in the DM book right here, including a picture that we took on the day of the mask. Also, very nice editing by Joseph. Let's Live Up to the Hype was extremely controversial among the cast and crew, but it's a beautiful line. It makes me very happy every time I hear it, just because of how painful it is. Even though it was meant to be a sarcastic mark by his character to kind of flesh out his personality a little bit. That's just an editing issue where we didn't cut soon enough, or we left in a bit too much there. I really liked this part, but it was initially meant to be inside of a dark room where once the main heroes came through the door, two guards would attack them from either side, and they would have this little fighting interaction. But it feels quite off considering that they're in a big open space where they can both see each other quite easily. He was initially meant to be also in the dark room. The mask was meant to be in the dark room, sitting cross-legged, and then he would teleport away, which we're gonna see in a second. There's a bit of dialogue about all of that. I love this bit, but it was initially meant to be where the mask would be a bit more. We should have had it closer so we could have had the focus on the heroes, and then once they all collapsed, it was meant to be a bit of like an anime, like the one character takes out their sword and puts it right back, and then all of the enemies fall into pieces kind of moment, to signify that the mask was extremely powerful. And there's future bits where, like here, where they discuss 13th time the charm, which is a very it's not a D&D thing where you can retry an enemy when your hero dies. They're just dead. But in this version, you're able to keep trying over and over in the game, and that's a bit more of a video game thing, but it was what we got through. I gotta slow down and catch my breath. Anywho, so this was meant as a very Sans-esque kind of fight, and they had to overcome this enemy that was quite difficult. Also, the Batman reference, beautiful. There was also, we didn't have time for this, but in the script there was meant to be a third attempt where they would be slightly further along in learning how to defeat the mask, and they would struggle, but they would do a lot better against him. And it was meant to show the progression of learning how to defeat the mask like you would with a really hard boss fight. And that's what this was meant to be. I actually scripted all of the different pained actions of all of the characters. And this was meant to be the final attempt where we had actually defeated the boss, where I dealt with the minions. They all went to go and fight the mask. Christo. Okay. There's a lot going on here. And essentially, in the third attempt that we had, they would learn that the mask teleports around when attacked, and they have mastered figuring out where they will teleport, because the mask always teleports behind people, and so they're both prepared. This doesn't make any sense when you just watch the video. But essentially, he throws a playing card to trigger the teleportation. They both know that the mask is going to teleport behind Alice's, the wizard, and so they're both prepared. And he shoots him to stun him. Alice was supposed to sweep his feet out from under them, but obviously we didn't get that very well. He didn't even put up that much of a fight, which would have been nice if we had more time and ability to choreograph a fight. But essentially they take him out in 3 hits. Alice uses this force thing to hold him down while Tristan deals the final blow. Also, slight detail, the mask, if you were able to look at it, his name is Timmy, based on the Undertale character. Anywho, we have this little interaction, which all feels very difficult. There is a very major piece of the plot hidden in this bit, which shows up, which is readable for 3 seconds, which was horrible on my part. But anywho, it kind of explains what's going on. Whenever Tristan kills the mask, he inherits the mask. There was supposed to be a bunch of voices that tell him to kill his friends. It's all in the script. We didn't do it. But I'm trying to explain all of the intentions here. So he takes up the mask. It was meant to be a bit more painful and, like, you know. In this bit, he lets out a very strange grunt. And it was meant to be a bit more subtle, like, you just got, like, stomach cramps kind of pain when he put it on. Because the mask says it deals 1 damage whenever you put it on. Another reference to Sans. But, you know, he didn't quite get the subtlety of what I was going for. But anyway, the mask possesses him. The idea of the mask is that the mask has a mind of its own. It's a parasite, and as parasites do, it is looking for the most powerful host by always being in combat, and it basically gets to possess whoever the winner is. So either the mask kills whoever it's fighting, or whoever is fighting the mask kills the host of the mask, and then the mask possesses that person. And I know there are some concepts like that. It's a bit like, I won't spoil it. It's a bit like a new movie that came out recently. But anyway, that's how the mask works, essentially. It possesses Tristan. He goes to use Christo as a human body shield, which was very bulky when we did it then. Then we had this fall, where I actually believe I cut out in this cut, where he throws him on the ground, but he throws him on the not this one, but the one right before he does that, where he actually, I believe, hurt Christo a bit by throwing him down a little bit too fast. That was absolutely awful on my part, but it was, you know, it was all scripted out where he would use Christo as a human body shield, explaining why the eye was shot out, then going to me, taking my lightsaber, and then turning to Alice to stab her. She was a bit mad that we didn't keep in her falling right after that, but it was meant to be a bit more dramatic, kind of, oh, she just got stabbed, but in the way that it was filmed and edited, it was very overlooked by the fact that this is what happened. And then it cuts straight to this, and then he gets stabbed by me. And the point of this, right here, I was supposed to say, get out of here, like, run, escape. But in this, it just kind of looks like I was killing him for my own sake. So Alice is dead. Christo escapes, which it leads up to the other one that this is a prequel to. I take the mask. I take the coat, which is reference to the line in the 2 other test footage things where we talk about the leader buying a coat that increases magic resistance. So essentially, I take the coat that I was complaining about previously in the movie. And so I take both of those things. Also, this is the coat that I'm wearing in the quote-unquote real world over here. And then this is where it cuts in this version. This is meant to be a teaser for EPiC 2, where Christo, this being Christo, comes back to the forest and retrieves the almost dead Alice, getting his shattered goggles, which I forgot we made. We bought a second pair of his goggles from this version. Best shown here. We bought a second pair of his goggles, or I did, and we actually shot them with a gun to have in the sequel where he would still own his pair that I shoot here, being that he lost his eye. So I shoot him trying to kill Tristan, but he's quote unquote too fast, and uses him as a meat shield. Gets shot in the eye. Then he has the shattered goggles later. And this is all supposed to explain this video, where then, later on, the character we had to write out, and Christo, the one that had lost an eye, go back to avenge their two friends that had died, one being right here, Tristan's character, and the other being not there. And so that is meant to explain why he lost the eye. It's supposed to explain the coat. I actually get this double lightsaber from one of the two minions, because I start out with a blue lightsaber, and then I leave at the end with the double-bladed lightsaber. This is the in-between from this to this. This is my character in the newest version. Or in the original EPiC trailer. Also, real bad, I have this, which is all of my character concepts for the newer EPiC, which is, this is the Scavenger, which is Noah's character that is the one with the butter knives that didn't show up on the current day. This is my character. Initially, apparently, he was super hyper and talkative, that ended up with the mask. This is Mr. Lobob, the Tristan's character. This is the mask, obviously, which initially talked in a high-pitched, weird voice, apparently, according to this. But anyway. So we got all of that filmed, and 3 years ago today, actually. Oh my gosh. Sorry, I gotta take a breath. We're half an hour in. But hey, that is everything approximately about the first part of EPiC. And this was meant to be the almost prologue to the primary story about the duality between my possessed mask character and Christo's character, who is the survivor of this traumatic event that the four heroes have experienced. And that was the build-up of this entire 4-minute video. Anywho, this is where it gets a little bit more fuzzy for me, but I'm going to do what I can. Anywho, so we almost instantly start working on EPiC 2, quote-unquote. Deep breaths, Lauren, deep breaths. So we basically started working on EPiC 2 right after, or right as we were working on editing the first one. And so I started getting together with Audrey and Alice being the two females, which are the sisters, which were also on the beach house trip that I got my red sunglasses on, which, also note, I am both wearing in real life and in the game, which is a bit weird. Also, he looks so much younger in this. But anywho, so we started getting together right after to kind of go over what was going to happen in EPiC 2, or the primary story of EPiC. And initially, for some reason, the idea I went to, which actually survived for a very long majority of EPiC 2's life, was the fact that it was going to focus on a new character named Alex, which was initially meant to be female, but there was some mix. Okay. Starting out, it was meant to be a story about Alex, which was, I want to say, it was Tristan's sibling at one point. But anyway, it was focused around Alex, which was a new character that was going to come and join a new group of heroes after all of this takes place. And so he joins this, and then he is, through many different variants of the story, he is teleported into the game so that it's a very like Tron or Jumanji kind of story where the game is actually an alternate dimension, which is real strange. But anywho, that was one of the first things that was decided about EPiC 2. And another thing that was decided was that Alice was going to be returned to life unbeknownst to the other characters. But anyway, what this little weird animatic that I made shows is that Christopher comes back with a mage of some sort and receives his broken goggles while also saving Alice. A very, I want to say like portal thing where Shell is like dragged back into the thing, or something like that. Anyway, the second thing that was decided was we were going to incorporate this character named Stickman, which was from this dumb little video that we had made. I don't know how or why, but me and Christo decided that Stickman should be the comic relief to EPiC 2. I might have to take a break after in a bit. Anyway, so this was meant to be the secondary character and kind of the guide for the viewer surrogate, which was Alex. Alex was a very blank slate character that didn't understand the world, so that Stickman could explain the world to them and hence the viewer. The next thing that was decided was that Stickman should have a sidekick named Sidestick, because essentially everything about Stickman's character would either be a stick joke or a stick pun, and I am quite sure that I have many lists of different stick jokes and puns and props that we needed to collect for Stickman that would have an absurd amount of stick items, including a Chick-O-Stick, which is the name of a candy that I currently have next to my bed to this day that we had saved and found for Stickman's character. Another little detail was the fact that Stickman was going to have like an infinite bag joke. That was like a Mary Poppins bag that was just full of an infinite amount of sticks, like different type of sticks, joysticks or Chick-O-Sticks or glow sticks, or basically all of them. It was just this dumb joke. Anywho, so we had these three characters, and then we had a masked fourth character that was somewhat of an anti-hero called Lyra that would eventually be revealed as Alice's character in disguise. And this concept also survived for a very long time. By the way, okay, I'm gonna get to this here in a second. But anywho, another thing that was very discussed was that my character would not be possessed by the mask for some reason or another. One of the reasons being my glasses that I was wearing as a reason for me to be wearing glasses. Anywho, this was something that we made in the end of 2017. This was a year's worth of progress into the project, where we have Lyra being Alice's character back from the dead. We have Sidestick we have Stickman, and we have Alex, which was played by another friend of mine for a short period of time. And then we have my character. We have Tristan's character, who is back because we filmed an in-credits thing for EPiC that was Tristan hobbling along because of the fact that he died before he had time to fully, embrace the mask. He became a ghost man, which, that concept, that idea that he was a ghost, has survived to the current iteration of EPiC that I will get to very much later. Anywho, I'm going to need to take a break because I'm not going to be able to do this for 3 hours straight. Anywho, so, we also wanted to bring back Krista for a minor role as the pirate, the one-eyed pirate character that was the veteran / friend of my character, which was eventually named Lawrence Prince, because it was the initials of the LP, which my character was credited as, just for funsies. And I had all of these other things. Another thing, I never fully completed this train of thought, but at the time of creating this, I was not Mr. Lobob. The identity of Mr. Lobob was, I was attempting to remain anonymous, so much so that I created different colored text. I uniquely colored all of the text on the blooper reel, and I colored Mr. Lobob's dialogue different from my dialogue. Also, here's all of the different takes and whatnot. And if you look here, I credit Mr. Lobob and the LP as different names. You ever just have bad ideas? I sure do. Anyway, so all of this happened, and also I came up with a real name for Mr. Lobob, which was Robert Perez, which was Robert being Bob for Lobob. And Perez, I believe, I actually went to a random name generator, and when Robert came up as the first name, I knew it was a sign of destiny. So Robert Perez is, up until this day, the name of the fictional Mr. Lobob character that is the icon of my channel, which is the Team Fortress 2 engineer, which is what Tristan's character is based off of. He is the Team Fortress 2 engineer, essentially, which is why he uses a wrench and a shotgun, which is a Nerf shotgun. Anywho, also, by the way, in the trailer, or in the older video, I have two of my friends, Jeremiah and Jedediah Speece, I want to say. I forgot how to pronounce their name. But anywho, this is the guy who plays the mask in EPiC 1 that you never see his face. And this is the minion with the double-bladed lightsaber. And then Audrey plays the... oh my gosh. Plays the other minion. So, this is the guy in the creeper thing, and Audrey's the other one. Okay. Bad ideas. Okay. Anywho, I believe that's all of the things about EPiC 1 for the most part. Moving back on to EPiC 2, I remember having multiple meetings, mostly with the Meadows, about trying to understand what the next EPiC was going to be about, and trying to figure out, who's going to play Stickman. Are we really going to be able to get Alice and Tristan and Christo back, because they all had roles in the new one, Alice being the assassin, Tristan being the ghost, and Christo being the grumpy, one-eyed veteran that had a score to settle, essentially. And also who was going to play Sidestick, which was actually decided fairly early to someone I know named Liza, which is the person here in the trailer ad. So essentially, this is Alex, who was for quite a while decided to be a friend of mine named Lewis. Stickman was decided to be played by Christo, which we had a little bit of trouble dealing with. We decided that Stickman was going to be the real-life Christo that had also gotten trapped in the EPiC world along with Alex. And then his character was also going to be there as Christo Delpheus, being the Pirate Man. This is Liza as Sidestick, and this is Alice. And this is also part of my 5th vlog, which was my birthday vlog, because the only time I get any of these people together is during my birthday parties. And then we have a lot of other extra people. This is Tristan, who I added a nice little effect where he would glitch in and out during different parts of the video, which I thought it was a nice little detail. But anyway, that was the primary piece of the thing. Also around this time, actually, me and Krista were working on a fairly solid version of EPiC 2, which was Fast EPiC 2, and I didn't even go over Fast EPiC 1, which was the start of the Fast series that Fast Princess Bride and Fast Wizard of Oz were based upon. Is that we tried to figure out how fast we could tell the story of EPiC as in a jokey manner, which, by the way, is absolutely hilarious, but probably more so if you actually know what the heck is going on in EPiC. Anywho, around the same time that we were working on this teaser thing, we also made Fast EPiC 2, which was a summary of the story, where Lyra, being Alice's character, sneaks into Christo's scrap shop / home, looking for something. And I don't actually remember what she was meant to be looking for, and I don't think we actually... Oh, that's right. Essentially, my character was not possessed by the mask, but rather was some alternate species. It got really out there for quite a while. Like, it just completely changed directions for a high majority of the lifetime of EPiC, and it just keeps getting worse. But at this point, my character was meant to be a different species / like almost alien called a plasmian, which has been a concept of mine for many years prior to EPiC, but I decided I wanted to add it into this, where it was able to create a reddish purple substance that would kind of harden. It's a lot like spray-on shoes, kind of in its aesthetic. I didn't even realize that until just now, but it's a bit like that. And essentially, what Alice's character is looking for here, currently played by Christo, is a weakness to my Plasmian character, which could also, just in case I could make myself enough of a Mary Sue, could also remember the future. Like, you know how you remember the past, it's like the closer it gets to the present, the more vividly you can remember it, just to make an extra layer of overpoweredness. But I think overpoweredness works a bit better with villains, because it makes more of a challenge to overcome. But still, I was just making myself overpowered AF. But anyways, Alice's character finds what they're looking for, just as Christo finds them and kicks them out. I look absurd in Christo's costume. And then we cut to, at this point, apparently, a still, never mind. So we basically were just trying to recreate Alex's character. They were meant to be sad and alone, and struggling with life. And then the game was meant to be kind of a saving grace to their life. And they live their boring, sad life where they go to work and they, the basic, boring, normal life of the hero's journey arc. It followed the hero's journey very closely. Anyway, he gets contacted by his brother, which is also just me. He's actually texting himself in this, which is foreshadowing for the fact that he's playing his brother, which is meant to be Tristan. Alex's character is Tristan's brother, supposedly. There he is. And so he takes him to the game. And he's not so sure about it, I believe. So they go to the home of Audrey again to play some EPiC. She meets them. Beautiful. This is meant to be Sidestick, or Liza's character, which we saw in the other thing. They know each other for some reason. I believe they've been playing a while in between EPiC 1 and 2. And I guess Tristan, I don't even remember what's going on. I think they might have been playing a totally different campaign at the time, because Tristan has a different character than what was actually happening in the world. By the way, that's the greatest moment in this. So anyway, they're playing the board game. All of this is absolutely beautiful, in my personal opinion. And Alex becomes happy in the wake of joining this group, because he's not so alone anymore. He's enjoying his life because he has something to look forward to. I'm just stating what the story was at the time of recording this, because none of it makes sense. Even when he has his downs, he's happy about it, because why not? It's recycled stuff. Also, if you turn on the audio, it's actually Tristan over the phone making car noises. And then, at the end of this, which is the strangest part of EPiC 2, is the fact that Alex gets drugged before getting into the getting sent to the EPiC world by none other than dramatic reveal, Audrey herself. There she is. So anyway, that is Fast EPiC 2, which is it gives you an early idea of what EPiC was looking like. Another little piece that I made was a bit of concept trailer for EPiC 2, who goes through, the main characters. There's Lewis, and there's Christo as Stickman, and Liza, and me. Truly beautiful. Anywho, so there was all of these different things. Then there was also, I forgot about this. This was meant to be an early teaser for EPiC 2 that was post EPiC, where it cut back to during the game, I believe. Or, no, it was right after the game ends in EPiC 1. So that goes through. So yeah, it has a little bit of teaser for everything in the very beginning. And then it has some dialogue. So the game's over for me. Well, you won your next season's villain. Which is okay, sorry, I forgot to explain this. The mask is basically the previous player who won EPiC becomes the next villain for the newest players. Lawrence was trying to save his friends from the mask. He did a horrible job, and you did right by them. Oh yeah, this was season 3. So these were the third group of people to come through. Also, it just referenced a short concept that lived for a bit, where Audrey had a second campaign going that would correspond with the main series, which were the villains. So the villains would be playing a campaign, and the heroes would be playing a campaign, and they would affect the other group's game, which I thought would be a really cool idea just for normal, just like a normal D&D game. But it was something that I actually mentioned in this concept video where I put a bit of stuff. This is them walking out of the thing. That was pretty awesome. Maybe for you. Oh yeah, Alice's character was also named Ava. And Bobby. Bobby. See you guys at season 4. Apparently they were coming back. I actually don't remember a ton of that stuff. Anyway. But this was all of the early stuff for EPiC 2 that we were working on. To get a little sense of what my character was meant to be like, this is one of the early things, or no, this is actually later, of the villain, which I actually ended up still having the black mask.
It's been a while. You guys are looking less than your best, but I guess you tried. See you around.
Garbage, awful. But anyway, that's what it was. This was an early EPiC 2 logo. I really gotta stop soon. My throat is killing me, and I didn't think this through in the slightest. But this is part 1 of what the heck is going on in EPiC, and I hope I explained some of the stuff. Nobody's gonna watch this, but it's still cool. I still love this logo, by the way. The negative space of the I in EPiC, I was proud of it. But anyhow, that was most of the stuff for early EPiC 2. Next time I'll go into some of the music that I created. I created a lot of little themes and leitmotifs for all of the characters and places. And later on I actually came up with a fairly solid story that we can look at for EPiC 2. And it was a 4-part series that had a lot of different stuff going on. And then we're going to get into the Immortals plotline, which is very complicated and boring. And then we're going to get into the death of EPiC 2, where it actually died for quite a while, and then the return with Down the Path, which was a lot more true to form, far more than any other iteration to the original EPiC, that just finishes the story of EPiC to nicely round it off without putting in a stupid amount of effort for people that don't really care about the project that much. But anywho, those are all the things we're going to cover once I restore my voice. We also have a couple of other things, like the fact that there was a third-party antagonist called the Scientist, and a couple of other things that happened. But anyway, I'll see you then, and this was my 3rd year anniversary of EPiC. Little thing, because I have a lot of things that I remember. All of this was purely from memory. I shouldn't remember any of these things, but I remember all of them. Also, another little thing, since I have a little bit of time, I recall that we went on a trip to New York early in the process of making EPiC 2, and I recall every time there was an intermission during, I believe we were watching Chicago, that I would borrow my mom's phone to write down all of the different epic ideas that I had during the show, because for some reason, when I'm watching a theater performance or certain movies, it just kicks my brain into overdrive thinking about EPiC, which we'll talk about my big problem with not being able to not think about EPiC, and also not forget any of these very minor details about EPiC next time. That's been an hour for me, and thanks for watching. Bye.